Hello and welcome to podcast.
Podcast is happening now.
Is podcast happening now? It is happening now. This is a ruminator and bullshit artist.
You'll
I've
know
sort
which is which.
we I'm slightly French. I started like vaguely sort of
Vaguely.
like vaguely sort of slightly Slavic, but not really.
I'd call that generic foreign slightly maybe to the
Generic.
east.
Yeah, exactly. Generic east of Germany accent, you know.
Which means that it might not be Czech, because there are parts of Czechia that
But
are
it
like
also might be.
west
Yeah,
of
but that's
parts
the
of
thing. It
Germany.
also might be. That's
That's
the thing.
true. It might be.
You know.
But like the border between Germany and Poland is just like a straight line that like follows the fucking like the parallel lines or whatever. Well, it follows a river, but it looks just like so straight. That's the border between the Slav lands and the rest of Europe.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's like it's such a divide. You know. It's well, not really. Like not anymore.
Nah.
But just historically, like
Well,
it's quite weird.
historically, it was quite fluid because the Holy Roman Empire kind of crossed those lines, and the German Empire massively crossed those lines. So,
Yeah.
and Austria as well.
I mean, I guess borders didn't really like exist as they do nowadays. You know, nowadays we think of borders and we're like, oh shit, yeah,
I
that's
think,
where a country begins, that's where it ends.
yeah,
And that's
I,
kind of changing. That's the thing. That is kind of changing now with like the EU and shit, you know?
yeah.
That shit is like going back to like the medieval era or before that or whenever. Like it's only
S-
really like been a
See,
very modern
this
invention having
is
this kind
how
of
the
borders.
European Union is actually the successor state of the Holy Roman Empire. And Rome has never fallen. It is still alive, and it lives in Brussels.
Rome lives in Brussels now.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, if the Romans knew that.
Well, not in Rome, because Rome is a shithole now.
Yeah. Plus, like, I mean, the center of it's like owned by the Vatican, which is
Yeah.
odd.
Yeah, not even in the EU, that. You've got to be a republic or something. I don't know.
But
Democracy.
neither are we now. We aren't
Oh,
anymore.
oh no, no, yeah, you don't have to uh, be a republic, but you do have to be a democracy in order to join the EU, I think. Which is why
Yeah.
they they're being prudish about Turkey, because not not exactly. You know, I was watching a lot of Slavoj Žižek recently.
That fucking like
Slovenian guy who,
Slovakian,
no, he's
Slovenian.
Slovenian, yeah, who fucking rubs his nose and goes and so on and so on.
He's got such a weird voice.
I love
Hello,
that.
I'm Cashloy Zizek.
Yeah,
Like what the fuck?
I fucking love listening to him though, and he's pretty funny, and he talks, he spits mad facts, put it like that. And then so he said something about like how there's a big onset of like authoritarian capitalism in like well, basically everywhere, like China, Turkey, Russia, Brazil, the US.
Here,
Yeah,
like everywhere.
yeah,
Like,
pretty much.
where isn't it happening? You know,
Yeah, I don't
like
know, like
North Korea.
Vietnam.
North Korea, it's
Yeah,
not
North Korea is the last bastion.
happening. North Korea's lost anti-capitalist bastion
Yeah,
where people have true freedom.
still authoritarian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, no.
Well, what about
People are
North
free in
Sentinel
North
Island?
Korea. You know,
What kind of government
a,
do they have? What ideology do they?
like a dying one. Like I think they are like
Well, I
losing the
think they're the
population.
closest to the return to monk ideology, right? Like centre lib.
I, I think that could be misconstrued as racist. But I'm going to assure.
Well, yeah, but it would be misconstruing, right? That's the point.
Well,
Like,
yeah. I mean, I'm not. I'm going to assure the podcast listeners that my friend is not a racist. He only hates North Sentinelese people, and it's not because of their race.
yeah, it's
He
because they
just
killed that nice pastor who tried to convert them to our Lord Jesus Christ.
exactly,
He
exactly.
was
And
he was a nice man. They killed. He was my
clearly, if
friend. He was
clearly
my
if they don't
personal friend.
accept Lord Jesus as their savior,
Then they're retarded. Yeah,
and then
obviously.
they
That's how
aren't
it works.
really people.
That's
They don't have souls.
whoa. That's a bit far.
Well,
That's a bit.
only not people
That's
in
a
the
bit.
fact that only not people in the fact that they're not conscious entities with souls who are going to heaven. You know, that's what I mean. Not in a way like, oh, we can't let them vote or anything. Just,
I mean,
know
why
that
would you let them vote? They're not like part of any
know
country.
that if you have accepted Jesus Christ in your heart, um, you are better than them. Um, it's just something you got to realize at the end of the day.
So at the end of the day, really, I mean, if the left doesn't get its shit together, what we've seen basically is a shift to instead of it's like moderate left versus moderate right. It's like liberal sort of establishment, right, versus right wing populism. It's basically what
But
it's become
where's it become that?
everywhere. The U.S.
The U
here.
Biden isn't a fucking liberal. Yeah, the Democrats aren't liberal. The Democrats are like the conservatives in this country.
Well,
Like
they're
everywhere in America is more right wing.
like liberal in the sense of neoliberalism, not
That's not
like
liberalism though. Like neoliberalism just isn't really liberalism. It's just a sort of bad name for it, really.
well, I mean, names evolve, right? I mean, call it liberal or don't call it liberal. Point is, that's the establishment,
It is pretty
and
establishment,
it's
yeah.
the antithesis of the right wing populism that you see going up with Trump and
Yeah.
Boris,
I mean,
and
to be clear, I don't think
like
really.
all over Europe,
Yeah, I
Poland,
mean, to be clear,
Hungary.
I don't really think many of these people give a shit about left or right wing. You know, like
Well, because the left has completely failed to like be the advocates for working class people. The class divide is being subverted by the whatever political correctness to diversity, new fucking status quo of like our modern politics.
it's weird that, isn't it? Like everyone, I don't know about everyone, because the thing is, actually, you know what? That is the thing, because who actually have you met IRL who talks like that? You know, I don't think I've ever met anyone who's actually like. We even tried going to the LGBT club back at
I've
Teddington, right?
seen some.
And
I've
even
seen
they weren't
some.
talking about like, you know, everyone being a racist, everyone being a sexist, society as a whole is racist or whatever. No,
Yeah.
I've never met anyone like that. Here's what I think. I think that's sort of like that's being pumped up by like the media because it gets clicks because it's all very controversial and shit. People like, oh shit, this guy's being a racist, and they click on it because they want to know. They want to know what he said. You know what I mean? And then it becomes some sort of big storm. But really, like it's just sort of distracting you from more boring but probably like more pressing issues. Like that seems to be like a lot of what it is. It seems to be like a distraction in a lot of cases. Like, oh, why don't we talk about this instead of like
Yeah.
fucking
But there is a
corporations
real
fucking
movement
up
behind it,
everything.
and it's far more prevalent in the United States.
Yeah,
Like in the
but I
US,
mean,
there's people who actually like in California, they're like actually like that. Like that's actually prevalent in their culture basically. This whole white
yeah,
girl, liberal fucking middle class whatever thing.
yeah,
And then, they go like, oh, you know, to like working class people like, oh, you're racist because you don't like the immigrant and whatever and then so what happens was instead of the working class being represented by like leftist class based politics, it just becomes right wing populism of like going
but I
against
don't think like
the big people, the
I
authoritarians,
don't even of that. I don't think it's a very sizable minority. Even a sizable minority of people, like I think it's a very like small sized minority of people, like are like that. Like it's so small.
like
Like it's
what.
like less than 10% of the people who even vote Democrat are actually like that. Who go like, oh, this is racist. This is racist. This is racist. This is racist. I don't think that many people, even in like America, even in like California, are really that out there. I think it just seems like that because you get the stories which are like the negative stories. You don't pay attention. If it was like a poll that came out that said, 90% of people completely rational, no one will pay attention to that. And I'm not saying that is a fact or a figure because it definitely isn't. But, no one would pay attention to that. It's only when, oh, professor says this or, does this thing that everyone finds offensive. That's when you hear about it and it makes it seem like everyone's doing it, you know? But or everyone is like trying to catch everyone else out. I don't think it is most people. I don't think it's even a very sizable chunk of people, you know?
Well, it's not most people that's, you know, making the moves, so to speak, because it's, it takes a certain level of um, power and influence to be able to make a move like that that actually has like reverberations amongst the population, but there is still a majority of the population who are receiving those reverberations and are being affected by it. And so the presence of this culture is more about how it, to whom it's being received than who's like sort
I
of
mean, I think most of the
stimulating
people
it
who
and
would,
putting it
I,
out.
thi- I think most people who do vote Democrat probably want to like distance themselves from those people, you know? They're probably like the same way that anyone who's on like the moderate right wants to distance themselves from fucking neo-Nazis, you know? Like most people who are on the left who'd vote Democrat or vote Labour or whatever, I don't think they're like, they probably want to distance themselves from all those people. They don't want to like make those seem like they're represented. Most of them just like fucking don't. Well, in this election specifically, they didn't like fucking Trump. And normally, they want a bit more healthcare. They want a bit, more raised taxes, like higher raised taxes and stuff, for rich people. That's normally what they want. They don't. Most of them disavow. I don't know if they disavow it, but they don't support any of that
Well,
sort of
they're just not really
shit.
concerned with it because, well, because most people, right, aren't like super particularly political. Is it basically?
Yeah.
Like, obviously most people are, don't really have opinions that are worth listening to because they're not very well informed about it, right? Because they don't care that much, because they have too much time on too many things to do. They don't have enough time on their hands,
Or they just don't care. I
and they
mean,
just don't care. Yeah,
you know, I've got plenty of time on my hands, and you know, I told you the other day I unsubbed from every like news subreddit. I don't, I don't listen or get the news anymore. I mean, and honestly, it feels pretty good. Can't
yeah,
lie. Like every news story is fucking some shit that you don't want to hear, just some negative shit. And if you can sort of like, you can sort of see the direction society's headed in. I mean, it's fairly obvious. You know, you're gonna get like more technological. Probably gonna get more fucking bureaucratic. It's gonna be more sort of government corporate merging and that sort of thing. I mean, that's probably where we're headed. Some Black Mirror place. I mean, we probably won't find it scary when we're in it. But I mean, look, if we saw like a projection of 80 years in the future now, we'd probably be like, oh fuck. you know?
yeah.
That's
Well,
why I think that's where we're headed. So I don't feel really the need to even listen to the news anymore. Like it just doesn't really affect me. Like, oh, terrorist attack in London or something. It's like, oh, well, yeah, but is that just gonna make me scared? You know, like am I just gonna be worrying about a fucking terrorist attack now? Like it doesn't really help me. I can't avoid it if it does happen. You know,
yeah,
I'm not gonna stay home because I'm scared of a terrorist attack, but it still might be in the back of my mind. Like I don't. It's just shit you don't need to know at the end of the day. I think anyway.
yeah. Well, I think that seems to be something quite hard to grasp for a lot. Like people don't even think about that. That like you can unplug from the constant stream of like just meta narratives that are just existing out in the fucking internet space. Like you can just not get involved.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that to be honest. Like the thing is, I would know that I'd be on like r/news or whatever, and r/news. I mean, a lot of people are very ideological on there, and they don't think out a lot of stuff. There are some people who are very rational, and there are some people who are just want to comment because they want their voice to be heard. They want to get some karma, and they want to seem like they're doing a good thing. Oh, if I comment on Reddit, maybe I'll change some people's minds. Oh, maybe I'll get them to support Biden. I better go tell them to vote on Reddit. Like fuck off.
Yeah, it's this weird sort of like I don't know why, like I guess they have such a conviction that they they think they're right, you
Yeah,
know,
but the thing is,
that
I'd still
that
go on it. I'd still go on it.
they feel
Like
like they
I
have a
wouldn't.
justification to voice their opinion because they're so certain about themselves.
I wouldn't agree with most of the most even the articles they post. You could tell the article headline was clearly so political, and they'd be like, "Oh, I don't, yeah, I don't even agree with this." And then I click on it, and I'd still like look at all the comments of the people I disagree with. I don't know why. I knew all of them, like bar the ones that are like massively downvoted normally, are like some next ideological shit that's just it doesn't really serve anybody. Even some of the ones I agree with, it's like, yeah, you don't need to make the point in that way, you know? So I just thought, why am I like deliberately making myself like not outraged? I'm not angry. I'm not even like frustrated. I'm just like, for some reason, I'm slightly enjoying the fact that I'm disagreeing with all these people, and that I have this feeling of like know-it-allism. I've got
Yeah,
this feeling of like superiority from like disagreeing with all these people. But it's like it's still like a sort of grim, sort of like smug feeling in a way. Like even if you do feel like you got a good point. So I just thought, unplug. I'm not. I never comment anyway. I'm not the one. I never fucking comment on like news articles. There's no point. What am I gonna say? I'm gonna give them my opinion. My opinion doesn't mean anything. That's what these people need to fucking learn, Cheek. You know,
yeah,
all these people on Reddit need to learn. Their opinion doesn't mean shit.
yeah.
No one cares. You've never convinced a single fucking person to like change their political opinions with a fucking comment on
but
Reddit.
but I got the wholesome award on my comment.
That's one thing I love.
Yeah,
That's one
wholesome.
thing I love.
Dude, I love. I go on like
Also,
World War Two
it's like,
photos, and there's like some dying child there, and it's like, oh, I got 7
yeah, no,
wholesome
it's
awards.
like a,
Just
it's like a news article. It's like polio returned in South Sudan. And it's like wholesome, wholesome award. It's like
isn't
fucking
it
hell.
like a seal or something?
Yeah. It's like a seal like smiling. It's like it's
Oh,
fucking
God.
hilarious. That's the one award which I agree with.
Yeah.
Apart from that, fuck awards as well.
Reddit award inflation is just amazing. That's,
I love the how on a Reddit announcement post, like if the mods are like announcing something, they just put like every award on it. It doesn't even it's not even like inconspicuous. It's very conspicuous. They just like spam every fucking award onto their post.
yeah.
Before anyone even like comments on it. It's ridiculous. I mean, who? No one's giving awards to like the Reddit fucking admin team. You know. Like no one's thinking, oh, I know. Instead of like giving it to like a meme that I laughed at or like something interesting I found, I'll give it to fucking Spez.
Mm,
You know? Nah,
Spares.
yeah, that's one of the admins I think.
Shit.
Yeah, I don't know. Until recently on Twitter.
Maybe the different like members of the Reddit staff give other members like awards, you know.
Yeah, well
Like,
maybe.
oh, I'm gonna give Michael the teddy bear one today.
Until recently on Twitter, uh, there was a fucking large community of zoophiles. You know what zoophiles is? I watched that.
So
I
far,
watched.
I
I
imagine
watched
it's
the
got
video.
something to do with furries.
It's worse. I was
Oh.
watching a video by this guy Mutahar on YouTube. Mutahar, yeah. And then and he was talking about this fucking how it's on Twitter. He showed this map actually of the US, and in like two states, including like Wyoming, like zoophilia is completely legal.
What's this guy's name?
Uh, Mutahar, some ordinary gamers. He did a video on it. It was like a day ago or so, I think now. Um, in Wyoming, it's still fucking legal to fuck your dog.
Uh-huh.
Like, what? Like, how do you think they just sort of never thought of it, or do you think they're scared that if they did make it legal, they'd lose votes? You know?
Um, I feel like, it's just one of those things where you're like, right, well, obviously we don't like to think that anybody is actually doing this, but if we
Yeah.
make this illegal, we're actually gonna have to probably deal with some situations of this
And we
and
got
have to
yeah, we've got to admit
prosecute
that it's
that.
happening. Exactly.
Yeah,
To
and
admit
deal
that
with dog
native.
fuckers, and I just don't wanna. I don't wanna deal with dog fuckers. All right, so just let
They
them do
are
it.
releasing the National Dog Fucking Act of 2020.
Yeah, it's like why even like admit? Yeah, it just doesn't exist.
Yeah, no,
Nobody
I
fucks
think
dogs in Wyoming.
you know, like it was literally like a few days
Or
ago.
maybe
Twitter,
like the governor
you know,
does it, so he's like, why would I,
oh
hazard myself with this? Not only because then he would make himself a criminal basically, but
yeah,
also because if that comes out while he's pushing for it, his career's over.
and also it's like those things where you know how they say like the people who are like most anti-gay are like secretly gay people. It's also one of the things
Yeah.
where if you seem like you're anti-zoophile
Yeah, they're like,
too
well,
much,
hold
like,
on.
well, hold on a minute,
You
why do you
this
care
this
so much
man
about
always
people?
says he loves his dog, alright? Well, I looked in through his window and I saw this, and it's just him, like a JPEG of like
You
him
know, man, I love my dog.
over a lot
My
of
dog was happy to love
his
me
head
back.
over like Johnny Sins pounding, some chick, and she's got like a dog head. His dog.
Yeah, he just wanks like a picture of Johnny Sins, and he's like glued like a photo of the dog onto his dick instead of like a woman, like just over the
What
wiener.
is the governor of Wyoming? Mark Gordon. Wow, he looks like a fucking sad guy.
Does he look like a dog fucker?
Well, hold on now. Is that
Can you
Mark?
send a picture?
Yeah.
Does he look like a dog fucker?
Or May. This guy. He does nothing but fuck dogs.
You know, I think he's more of a duck kind of guy.
Oh, see,
Quack, quack,
I s-
quack,
you're onto
quack,
something there, you know.
quack.
But like, oh no, but look at him. What kind of dog do you think he has?
What to, as like a pet or as like a sex toy?
Well, what's the difference?
Well, I'm imagining he's got like a sort of dead dog he uses as a fleshlight.
His
He doesn't really
eyes
care
are a bit
using the big.
like astray, they're kind of
He
pointing
looks like a dog killer. He
in
looks like the
different.
sort of person who'd kill the dog
He
before he
does
fucked.
look like a killer, yeah, definitely.
So I think he'd kill the dog before starting
Coital
anything.
relations.
Yeah, initiating, you know, sexual positions with the dog. I mean, it's only really doggy style, I guess, with a dog. You can't really get it to do cowbell.
No, no, you can't. And I
What's
assume you're
the-
speaking from experience.
Um, let's just say I'm knowledgeable in the subject. No, I'm joking. But like, I was watching this fucking the Mutar video yesterday, and there's this whole like community which is like trying to normalize it.
Uh huh.
Like, there was this one meme that was like it was like a Twitter post like as a meme that said animals can't consent, and then like underneath it said officials like stated this is like factually inaccurate or whatever. You know that like meme where like
Mhm.
Twitter's doing that to Trump.
Yeah.
So basically like saying like animals can consent and shit. And it's trying to like norm like normalize it with memes, you know? It's like what the fuck? You're not supposed to bang your pet, you know?
Well, it's not like there's a guideline on how to have a pet.
Oh
You know.
dear. I mean, yeah. The thing is, maybe if it was like a smart animal, maybe if it was like a dolphin, you know?
Yeah.
If it was a dolphin, maybe. I mean, they're pretty smart. I think they're one of the only other animals that like does it for fun as well, which most animals don't. They just do it to like have kids or whatever, you know? I don't think they even really feel it that much, you know?
Well, Johnny Sins is something else.
Bro, if you can't watch porn while we're doing the podcast.
Well, it's not like there's a guideline on doing podcasts.
Shut the
Look at his eyes. Do you think he's like on MD there or something, or cocaine? Those are
his
those.
eyes aren't his
Yeah,
pupils aren't wide enough.
that's
He's
like cocaine, isn't it? Like they get really small.
um I'm pretty sure with opiates they get pretty small. I know on codeine, Daniel's eyes got really small.
Oh yeah.
Um and I think mine did as well. I mean, I didn't have as much as him. I mean, neither of us really felt it, but both our eyes were kind of small, which was weird because, like, you know, I mean, it was kind of sunny out as well, though, so you got to bear that in mind.
I'll bear it. Yeah, I'll definitely bear it.
I mean, it's just not like a drug category I would want to go down that much, you know, opiates. I mean,
Uh-huh.
it's just kind of shitty. I mean, would you say you learned anything during a recent LSD trip?
Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah.
That was interesting. I mean, learned. I think. Well, I definitely learned something about tripping in terms of the activity.
Mm.
I sort of got reminded that it is quite an endeavor.
Yeah. Especially because time is just so weird, you know? Like
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but my sense of like just even being able to like recognize what time is so flawed on LSD. Like I knew we took it at 2:30, but I wouldn't know that 3:30 or like 4:30 was 2 hours later. All the numbers were just like, what does that mean? What we like, you know, I was just so confused. Um, I
Yeah,
don't
I
know why.
think the fact that you basically took it an hour after I did um,
Yeah,
fucked it up a bit because it was just sort of out of sync.
I don't know. I thought it got pretty much back in sync pretty quickly. You know, I mean, we were both feeling it on the walk. You know,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah,
so weird. The walk
yeah, I didn't expect the walk to take so well because I
from
didn't
the spot.
plan for the walk, and it was
I
quite
think that was
tiring.
I think that was part of the beauty though.
Yeah, but because I tried to like I was still sort of in the mindset of like just trying to get home,
Mm.
and so if I had sort of accommodated for the walk and been like, okay, this is going to be a major part of the trip, I would have probably like taken it a bit slower, had more breaks, and drank some more water.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't think you can like plan it too much. You know, I don't think we should like next time we do it. I don't think we should have like a thing like, oh, should we go for a walk? Should we not go for a walk? I think we should decide when, like, you know, like when we're on it, just see what we feel like, you know?
I think
Because I
that's
think
no, that
the
doesn't
walk was,
work.
I think that
That's not.
works because the walk for me was like, I don't know, one of the best parts of it, really.
Well, it was good, but it's not reliable. Like there's no problem with changing what you're gonna do, but you still need to plan. Doesn't mean you need to stick to the plan, but I think the plan is important. Or
I don't know. I
planning.
think like, yeah, well, yeah, plans are useless. Planning is indispensable. You know,
Yeah.
that's I think it's a patent quote,
No, it's
Eisenhower.
mm,
Uh, Hoi Four. It's a Hoi Four quote. I know that much.
yeah. Wait. What was the other? Oh, Douglas MacArthur. Yeah, so it was Eisenhower. Yeah.
I thought so. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I mean, what would you say? The thing is, because I did ask, like, did you want to go on a walk? I mean, did you want to walk back? Well, what would you have done differently? You'd like taken more breaks. I don't think we needed to take more breaks, did we? Did you get or, like, were you a bit too tired? Because the
What?
things you seemed like fine. the whole trip? I thought I was the one who seemed like a bit out of it.
Well, I was just sort of like, I was fine. Sort of, I kept my spirits up,
Hmm.
but I could have, I, I spent. I do this often on trips where, like, I have something on mind that I want to take care of, but I just don't do it for like a while. Like
Yeah.
needing to
You want to get
drink,
comfortable first.
or taking a break, or like felt really hot by the end, towards the end. We were like
Oh
so
yeah,
hot.
yeah, yeah, yeah. My hands were so fucking wet. It was ridiculous. I don't think I've ever like sweated that much before. Like I guess it wasn't that cold out anyway. But I mean, yeah, I was wearing my jacket and I was wearing a hoodie, and my t-shirt obviously. Um, yeah, I was fucking boiling, man. That was weird. I mean, you never really account for how much like LSD like warms you up, 'cause it really does.
Yeah,
Like it really does. Like you can see why some people can like who are tripping can like walk around in a fucking t-shirt at night. Because you just feel so fucking just warm. It's really weird. I don't know why that is. I think it's just the sort of overstimulation that it gives you.
something like that.
I
Go
mean,
check
which
this
would
out. It's the
I mean, which would you say was your favorite LSD trip of all, or like,
mm,
or just psychedelic trip of all, or or whatever.
mm. It's interesting because with trips I've found that the further away I get from it, time-wise,
Mm,
the the more fond I am of it. Like right after it,
mm.
you're in a bit of a bad state. You're kind of
Yeah,
out of it,
shit done out. Yeah.
and you sort of just you just feel the negative of the trip more.
I
And
can
then
definitely say in this recent one I did, I was glad when it was over.
yeah,
Like I wasn't having a bad trip, but I was fucking glad when it was over, you know.
and then as it goes on, you just kind of remember the nice bits. And it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
it was good. I don't know. I maybe still the one that we had in the summer.
the Richmond Park one or the one like in your apartment,
Yeah, that one.
the second one.
Yeah.
That one was a fucking good trip. Fucking like smoking on the bridge over the road. Oh, that was so good. That was so nostalgic. Fucking hell.
Yeah, a lot of cool memories from that one.
I'd say that one was a fucking good trip. I got like I think I think that trip though afterwards I was up until like 2 in the afternoon, which sort of gave it like a bit that it sort of made it a bit annoying. And also that's why I deliberately decided not to bun on this one. Because whenever I bun on acid, it just makes it, you know, it sort of fucks you up for a bit. And you just need to sleep to like correct it, but it also makes it way harder to sleep. It's a bit of a catch 22. Um, but the next day you're fine. It's just I don't know, weed for me it just makes my brain go a bit funny when I'm on acid. Normally weed's fine. Normally acid's fine. You put them together, just nah. It's got something's gone wrong. Uh,
Sorry, I'm just fucking about and paint up that.
Bruv, stop like getting distracted. I've turned off like all my distractions. You gotta just like
No, I'm listening, but I'm just giving some visual entertainment for the people
yeah, but
listening.
that's not. It's a podcast, G. It's not a video. You get me?
Well, it is now. It's on YouTube. I think though, in my trips, uh, most of them are quite distinct. Like I can, remember it quite distinctively. Like there was the one on the train, the 2CB pill on the train coming back from Scotland. There was the solo TCB one where Daniel was taking it at the same time, and then I remember I recommended Comfortably Numb to him, and he listened to it, and he was like, "Holy God, you think this is amazing? You think makes you think if they did this while they were tripping?" And I'm like, "Makes you think? Of course they were fucking tripping."
Yeah, word. They were on every psychedelic, you know.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you like think you'd want to try? Like, what's the biggest thing you think you'd want to try? Or maybe you've tried it before, but you want to do something else with it.
Well, like drug wise,
Yeah,
cocaine.
cocaine, really?
What with LSD? You mean?
No, not with LSD.
Oh, just in general.
Just in general.
Yeah, I'd like to try cocaine. Well, I'm not really fast.
Is it? Oh, for me it'd be DMT.
Oh,
Oh, I'd try DMT in a heartbeat, man.
well, are you asking like what the most I'd like to try?
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
If
probably
I
the
if a
well,
genie
well,
if a
probably
drug
shrooms instead.
if a
I'd
drug
want to do
genie came
shrooms.
if a drug genie came down, yeah, I was like, I'll give you three drugs of your choice, right? Of any dosage that you need, but only you can do it all at once or none of it. You know what I mean? You can't like get like some shrooms and then do half now, half later. You can just have one experience with any drug. What would be your top three? Shrooms, cocaine, and DMT.
Um, shrooms, DMT. Oh, I don't know about
I want to do salvia.
salvia. Yeah, yeah.
I think I'd put that on the top three, and DMT, and probably shrooms as well, to be honest, because that's just like just want to like go down all these different sort of pathways, you know?
Yeah, shrooms just seems like so archetypal. Like you're gonna have shrooms, man.
Yeah, word. I think it gives you like it's more of a I don't know. It seems like from what I've heard more narrative. Not narrative, but like it takes you in a direction itself as opposed to you trying to find like what you want to do with it. You know, LSD is a lot more malleable, I think I'm trying to say, you know, in terms of the experience. You know? Like LSD is like an extra layer, an extra filter on the experience, whereas shrooms just like gives you an experience like itself, you know, as opposed to you trying to find something, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a bad way to put it actually. I don't know. I'd say my weirdest thing ever was like doing cat, you know, like a lot of cat.
Uh huh.
Because I did like I don't even know. The thing is, it wasn't even like half a gram, you know. And I know people who snorted like a gram in one line, you know, like Alex's friend James. Yeah,
Oh
he
yeah.
s- he
Well, he's
snorted.
legendary. Like,
He's legendary. He snorted like a whole fucking bag in like a line, like you know. I mean, to be honest though, I'd hate to be like w- him when he's like 40 and has like fucking bladder cancer. But I mean, short of that, I mean, Jesus Christ, I didn't even do half of that. So you know, I'm not trying to chat like I'm some bad man, but I think part of it, I think I had like a slight blocked nose, and this is a complete conjecture, but for context, the people who don't really know, like, um, cat is supposed to last like 45 minutes, and my thing lasted 3 hours and felt a lot fucking longer. Like each fucking second felt like minutes. You know,
mm,
minutes felt like hours. I mean, it was ridiculous. I snorted like say 300 to 500 milligrams, like all just not at once, not in one line, but just continuously, not like taking any breaks, just line, 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 line. Many lines, probably
Mm.
over 15, I'd say.
Damn.
Um, and then I just sort of sat back as it was kicking in, and I just laid down. Sorry, I just laid down, and I was just like, I was looking at my phone, just sort of like looking at the looking at the time changing. I was
Uh-huh.
like, what the fuck? Why is it going so slowly? And then I'd start thinking about shit, and it'd feel like I was thinking about it for, hours and hours. I'd look at it, it's been like a minute. I was like, what the fuck? That was
Fucking.
probably the weirdest time, like the weirdest drug experience I've had. And I think partly it's like because the reason I mentioned the blocked nose is because I wonder if having that sort of like made it delayed, I made it last like 3 hours. Or it
Right.
could have been like maybe just not enough could get onto like the receptors in your brain or whatever scientific term or whatever. Like and it was sort of like backed up. I really can't say, but it was very strange. I think if I'd taken all of that at once and my nose wasn't blocked, I definitely would have K-holed. I mean, maybe, I don't think I mean, I wouldn't say it counted as a K-hole though, because I think I could move, albeit like very weirdly, you know,
Yeah.
like I think it was more like I didn't feel like the need to move. I didn't want to move, and thus I didn't move. And in a way, it felt like I couldn't, but like I know it felt well. I am babbling here. It felt like I could move, but I just didn't want to move. You know,
Yeah.
so much that I almost couldn't move, but I probably could have. So I don't know if it's a complete K-hole. Plus, I was like, I was completely like conscious the whole time, just like eyes open. I didn't like hallucinate. There wasn't like visuals or anything like that. It was just, yeah, it was just really weird. Just
Hmm.
like I find that strange that theoretically, like time could be as long or as short as you need it. You know, like time is a sense in a way. Time goes as quickly as it goes because of the brain. There's no reason why, you know, a second really should feel like as long as it should, you know?
Yeah. Like.
I wouldn't say. You could
Well,
theorize
because
a be
I think
wait, 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 wait. You could theorize a being who who experienced time where a second to him felt like 10 seconds to us. But, if you look through his consciousness, if you look through his eyes, it would play at the same speed. It's just to us, if we looked at it from our bodies, it would take like 10 seconds for him to do every second. So he'd be going very slowly. But it would feel exactly the same to him.
um. Well, I think it's the case that like small bugs just experience time a lot faster than bigger animals because they're tiny. And so to them, we are like slow, lumbering giants, like we would imagine giants compared to us being like. And
Mm.
then, to us, obviously, you look at an insect, it's moving around incredibly quickly. It's like buzzing around, it's doing all these things at such a high like frequency that to it,
But
that's just it doing it normally.
exactly. So, it feels like it has a longer lifespan in a way than it does.
I guess, yeah.
Like to it probably, I mean, we're just speculating here because we can't really look through the eye of a fly. But
I mean, maybe you can't. I got a
I mean,
familiar.
if you did, you could probably like maybe like its sort of flying speed, it would sort of view like how we walk, be the same sort of speed. You know, getting from one end of the room to the other end of the room might feel like a 45-minute walk, you know, like to us. But we see it in like a couple seconds. Maybe they live maybe they feel like they live like an equivalent amount of time to us. It's just to us it's like a few days.
I don't think it's on that scale.
It probably isn't.
where it's comparable in time, but
Yeah,
in
no, it probably
experience.
isn't.
But still,
But slightly
what
though,
do you
you know.
but
I mean,
what do you think the reason for that? Is it literally because their brains are just what operate on a smaller scale? Do you think? Because they're literally tiny.
well, I think it's I mean,
Like everything is just closer together because the
I don't know if it's
distances are so
to,
much smaller.
I don't know if it's to do with like size or what. I think it's just like it might be to do with like energy. I mean, if conceivably if there was life on a world where little energy came in, the star was quite far away, it wasn't that hot, but you could imagine like there being some sort of life evolving there. That life might experience consciousness the same way we feel like we experience consciousness, but if we went there, it'd be moving so much slower just because the amount of energy is so much less. They might last a lot longer. It feels like the same to them, but because there's so little energy, like they're actually going like really slowly. It might be something to do with that. Like insects, a lot of energy for what they are. They're
Yeah.
just buzzing around, going all over the place, and they seem very fast. Um,
Well, I
gosh,
guess proportionally, I guess they maybe I don't know.
I mean, I think I just don't think there's a sort of necessary like a reason, a universal reason for why a second feels like a second. You know, I don't think that. I think that's just a sort of thing put in your brain to make time manageable. I mean, to be fair, you only experience the present. The only reason we think about it in
Well,
terms,
let's actually think about it from a sort of cognitive perspective. Your experience of reality isn't anything but the sort of the continuity of your brain processing information. Your
mm,
experience is what is being processed in your brain. If your brain isn't processing it, then you don't experience it. And so you can skip time when you're sleeping, for example, because your brain just isn't processing stuff. So that time is just gone in your experience.
yeah, and I think that makes sense. And I don't think there's a specific reason why time feels like it should be as long. I mean, that sort of makes sense to me anyway. I mean, it makes it we do only experience the present moment. We only think of seconds and hours and minutes because cognitively we can recognize the fact that there is a future and a past. You know, and we have the linguistic capabilities to be able to label them. Oh, this is 5 hours in the future. Oh, this is 2 minutes ago. But realistically, like time in some ways, like the flow of time, the hour of time. I mean, we don't know if that necessarily like properly exists. It might be just something that your brain creates as you're going through a time period as it's doing the reactions. You go from a child to an old guy, and it feels like time. But I mean, in some ways, if you look at it on like an energy level, every reaction causes an equal and opposite reaction. And that goes both ways in time as well, you know? Like, there's no reason why, melting water and then or melting ice and then freezing it back over or whatever could be done in reverse and it would look exactly the same? So in some ways, time doesn't even necessarily have this arrow-like quality where it's going in one direction. It's just that our brains experience it in that way because that's really the only real way you can experience things and have a conscious entity. I don't know.
I
Maybe
guess.
that's maybe. I think it's the brain that actually creates the sense of like time going forward.
Well, it has to be. There's no sense of time going forward for something that doesn't have a brain. Like a rock
Well,
doesn't
yeah,
experience
obviously.
time passing.
Well, well, yeah. I'm just saying, like, to a rock, it doesn't matter if it's going in reverse or forward in time. In some ways, for the rock, the arrow of time doesn't exist. You know.
The rock is so powerful from using the Jumanji board game that time
I,
doesn't affect it.
I just went on this. I just went on like the dumbest rant about like about like fucking time and shit. I don't even know what I was chatting about there. Um, but yeah, I don't fucking know. What do you think? Do you think there's some? Do you think there's like an objective like amount
Well,
of
Todd, you see, in my professional opinion,
time is a dimension?
well,
Yeah,
it is.
it is.
It is.
I'm not arguing with that. I'm saying that. That's why I'm saying like
Time is a
just like the
motherfucking
third,
dimension.
just like the third dimension, you can move across it. You can move forward and backwards. Time is like that too. But we are three-dimensional beings, and we can't experience that. But if you were a four-dimensional human, theoretically you could walk backwards, forwards through time, maybe even sideways. I mean, I don't know what that really means, but who gives a shit?
Well, I'd be going across timelines, right? Like branches of time.
I guess so. Do you think that might be a real thing? You know, like the
Well, I don't
electron
think it's
uncertainty thing.
the what?
The electron uncertainty thing. It's a well-known scientific principle.
Oh, yes, of course, yes, the electron uncertain. Is that like
You know.
that you can't tell where it is?
Um.
It could
Yeah, I
be.
think so. Like, it could be a wave, or it could be a particle,
Oh, right, that thing.
or there's that as well. And also, you don't know, like, just because the electron's there, like, where you happen to measure it at one point, you know, if in a different universe, it could have been somewhere else. And we know that if you measure it like forward in time, it changes what the electron is back in time or some shit. And I can't explain that in any meaningful way that anyone's going to understand. But there was like I can't remember what the YouTube channel was. There's a video on it. There's also a video on how like it's possible that like every electron in the universe is all the same electron, like in different states of like its existence. You know, like future, back, not like the past. Like it's all the same electron, just in like different places and different times. That's actually a theory or a hypothesis, anyway. You know,
Huh.
and it's because like based on these like, I think it's like the double slit experiment and shit. That yeah, they showed that electrons can go back in time or some bollocks. I don't know. They're gonna make a time machine. Like it's gonna happen. You know, like they've been
Well,
preparing us for it for ages. Like, that's what all these Hollywood movies have been about. Like how many time machine movies have there been now? There's been a fucking like Marvel one. There's been like Endgame. There's been
there's been
hot
other ones.
hot tub time machine. There's been like you know there's been some shitty time machine movies. There's been some good time machine movies. Men in Black 3.
There's
You know,
been
eventually every franchise does a time machine movie. Star Wars is going to do one next. They're going to do one next. Star Wars is going to have some next like time machine plot or some shit. Episode 11 or 10 or whatever. Episode 10. Rey goes back in time to the prequel era to stop Anakin before he ever kills Mace Windu and kills the Jedi.
it would
It's
be
like, oh,
that, wouldn't it?
it
It's
would be. It'd be some shit like that, and then that'd be kind of good actually. Because actually, no, I don't know if that would be good, but maybe she could go back in time and like erase like fucking Palpatine from existing after he died initially. You know what I mean? Like after Palpatine died the first time, that getting thrown down the well by Darth Vader.
yeah.
She could just go back and kill him then, while he's weakened. Just kill him then, and then just decanonize like the entire sequel trilogy.
Yeah, but then would maybe that would cause her to never exist.
Exactly.
Shit. Well,
That's the
that
goal.
nah, but then the plot is going to become, oh, we need to undo that. We need to save Lord Sidious so that I don't get fucked over in my timeline and don't get to be a hero who saves the
Yeah, but
galaxy
think
for the
about it.
third
Yeah, but
time.
think about it. Ajit, think about it. Like, I'm pretty sure in one of those films, like, their Ultra Death Star or whatever killed, like, 5 planets worth of people, you know? I mean, think of that as 5 Earths, like, what we got, 7.5 billion people. Times that by five, yeah, that's 37.5 billion people. You know, just got blown out of the sky, just completely blown up. I mean, you could go back and save 37.5 billion lives, or you could be selfish and be like, oh yeah, but I want to keep living, you know?
What Oscar
Nah,
would you?
no.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, but I'm not making a shitty fucking sequel trilogy.
Well, if it's shitty, then why would Ray do that?
Because it's shit. Undo it. That's what I'm saying. It's shit. Just undo it
Yeah, but
with the time machine.
if what you're imagining is shitty, then why would it unshitify the shittiness?
No, 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 no. My plot is great. My plot to go back and undo the thing
But it's
is
not
is
great
great.
because
No, no,
Ray
it
wouldn't
is.
do it.
It's story master. Why not? You gotta be like, she's supposed to be like perfect, fucking
Well,
Jedi or
I mean,
whatever.
she isn't.
She wouldn't. She looks like she is. I mean, that's what all the films make it seem like.
Well,
I
nah.
mean,
She's not the
yeah.
perfect Jedi. She's quite a shit Jedi, to be honest.
Even Luke Skywalker didn't kill the Emperor himself. You know, he got his dad to do it. I mean, and now this wannabe fucking kills the Emperor.
Yeah.
The same way that Mace like nearly did it. When's the Emperor gonna learn that if someone's holding a lightsaber, they can shoot lightning back at you? The Emperor gonna learn that? How do you make the same mistake twice? He looked like Ian McDermott, and then he looked like Ian McDermott put his head on like a fryer, like in a fryer, you know,
He
and
deep
then
fried himself.
he looked like Ian McDermott, but at the end of Indiana Jones 1, you know, with the fucking his eyes melting out and shit,
I'm
you know.
guessing that Ian McDermott is the actor that played Sidious.
He is, yeah.
Hmm. Shit.
Like, how did he make that mistake again?
Well, he's quite old, isn't he?
He is pretty old at this point, I'm pretty sure, yeah. I mean, that's another thing. If he's a clone or whatever of of the normal one, shouldn't he be young again? Why is his face still deformed? You know what I mean?
Is he a
If he's
clone?
I thought that was the point. I thought he was supposed to be like a clone or some shit of the old Sidious.
I don't know now.
You know, I watched episode 9, but only what like once because it was utter garbage. Um, I didn't go to the cinema. Fucking torrented it because, you know, I'm not giving money for that sort of quality of film. But I still felt I might as well watch it. I mean, I had nothing else to do at the time. It just, they really buggered it up, Disney. You know?
Yeah, it's just it's not fun to watch.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people didn't like Rogue One and Solo. The sort of those sort of like
I preferred those for sure.
individual films. I preferred those. I thought they were pretty good. Thought the guy in Solo actually like played Han Solo pretty well. I mean, I forgot that he wasn't Han Solo while I was watching it. You know, he looks mostly like fucking Harrison Ford. He sounds a lot like Harrison Ford, and he acts a lot like Harrison Ford. I mean, what more could you want?
I just like
Like,
that Childish Gambino was in it as the
yeah, the
guy.
only thing that got annoying was that fucking robot,
Oh yeah,
uh,
the revolutionary robot.
the revolutionary robot, who just like died. I mean, you know, like, and you're supposed to feel sad, and it's like that was another thing actually. In episode 9, they did this fake C3PO dying thing, you know? And it felt so unearned. They're trying to like tug on your heartstrings with like C3PO giving up his life. He's like, I'm surrounded by my friends. And then, he fucking dies, whatever. It's like, you can't do that. You didn't like deserve that. You didn't earn that fucking moment. You know what I mean? Like C3PO has been a character who's been in every single of the main films. You know what I mean? You didn't earn that fucking moment where he dies and you try and like pull on my heartstrings or whatever. No, fuck off. It made me annoyed more than anything. They tried to like make you like the film with some sort of sacrifice. Nah, fuck off.
Damn.
Yeah, sorry. got a
So,
bit
are we film
got a bit
critics
amped
now?
there. Um, I think we're critics of pretty much everything. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
how many new ideas have we come up with?
We ruminate and we bullshit. That's what we do. We
Yeah, I
haven't come
mean,
up with any new ideas. We just break down existing ones and
I
take
thought of a
away
book.
whatever nascent hope and aspiration anyone might have.
I thought
That's
of a
what we
book
feed
idea.
off. You had a book idea?
I had a book idea. It's like
Shit.
this guy who's a scientist. He was like a an AI scientist, right? And his technology, uh, basically went some way into making like people conscious in computers. Like you can actually simulate consciousness in a computer, not just the neural pathways, not just the brain, but actually a conscious entity.
Damn. Would it
And this
look
guy,
like this?
I don't know, mate. I mean, I think, uh, I think that could be like the cover art, for the book.
For the
No?
book?
Yeah, I think so. I think that could be like the cover art, or maybe that could be something in the blurb. I don't know. In the background. I mean, it's a nice picture, but is that on paint.net or some shit?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that could be a concept. Either way, he dies, right? And he's regenerated into the computer, right? But he's a human, right? I mean, if you're a human with a body and everything, it's a bit of an adjustment to then become like some sort of weird ethereal code thing, even if you are conscious. So you do have to sort of simulate a real physical world, right? But because being conscious or whatever takes way more power for the machines, right? The majority of people who go in there, including his family, aren't actually conscious, although they have the same like exact brain neural network or whatever, so they seem like the same personality, and you don't know who's conscious and who's not, but in reality they're not actually conscious.
Right.
And he basically finds out this, goes crazy, you know, because really it's just going to be like the rich people and the fucking billionaires and the politicians and like some of the more important people, like who are going to be supposedly important, who are going to be the conscious ones realistically. He finds out his family isn't actually conscious. He's like, this whole system is barbaric, what the fuck, and he starts resenting anyone who isn't conscious. And then he tries to like take, because he's like a programmer or whatever, he takes down, he tries like taking down the system. It like crashes, it reboots, and then like it just ends with him being back in the system, but he's not conscious anymore. You know what I mean? Like now he's a robot. He couldn't be trusted with conscious ability. So he's a robot now as well. He's like an AI.
Wait, so
That
what's
was like
what's the system?
the system is well, it's just a computer in it that you like simulate a physical world in for the AI to like inhabit, and the conscious because there are conscious people and they're just AI people. You know what I mean? But you can't really like tell the difference between a conscious person and an AI person. You can only know that you are conscious.
So that's
But
that's a bit of like sort of like a makes you think kind of thing because realistically, how can you tell that that's not the case?
exactly. But I mean, this guy's like a bit. He's a scientist. He's a bit of a nerd,
So
really.
how does he find out that people
Well, he
aren't
may.
conscious? Because
The
how
thing
can
is,
you prove that?
the thing is, he might not find out, but he's just like he's paranoid.
Uh huh.
Like he's a bit. You present it in his character that he's a bit paranoid, and he noticed certain things that just seems a little bit off, even if they weren't like totally off, because he's already paranoid. He noticed them extra hard, um, or at least like obsesses over them, even if it's just something that isn't even indicative, you know. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, but you need some way in which the story can progress, and I'm thinking that eventually he wants to take this down, but he's just punished by becoming just another AI.
Mm.
I'm saying like only about like a quarter of the people in there, maybe even less, are like actually conscious.
So what determines whether you get to be conscious or not?
Just how important, well, how supposedly important you are, how much money you have, how much influence you have.
But how's that
That's it.
system actually implemented?
Um, so this is why it's a book idea and not a book yet, Majik, because it's sort of like this is just a sort of concept at the moment. I
Right.
mean,
No,
to be
yeah,
honest,
that's fine, but I'm just like probing for like
um,
fleshing out
I'd imagine like
the concept.
when you were gonna die, or maybe even before you died, you'd have a copy of your like brain basically digitally made and then put into a computer, right?
Uh-huh.
Some of these you can press the little consciousness switch and they actually are conscious. In some ways they're real people, but you don't tell them that other people aren't. Only like certain people know that other people aren't conscious and some people are. Tom, the scientist, knows because he's actually one of the AI scientists. That's the thing. This guy's more qualified than everyone else to actually know. But also the elite, just a sort of global elite who we don't go into. It's not a fucking conspiracy book. I mean, Jesus Christ. It's just a sort of idea that, if you think about this technology, the people who really are going to get like the best version of it are going to be the people with lots of money or lots of influence.
But I'm wondering, like,
That's
so
always
who
how it's
who
going to work.
flips the switch? Who's what's the infrastructure of this
Well, I
system?
mean,
Like,
there's still people who live in on the outside world. I mean, this is like a dead man's world. This is for people who are dead, and
right,
you know, they say you did something that's really good, right? You did something that's really important. I mean, say you become like the head banker, yeah.
right,
You're like the top of HSBC, You're like the CEO, you know. And this technology comes around, and you and all your elite friends, your politicians and your other bankers and your stock market people and your Wall Street, you're all getting together, you're talking, and they tell you that not everyone's conscious, you know. Actually, you know what? They don't tell you that, because maybe you're not the CEO, maybe you're a bit lower down, but you still want to be in the machine, and you're still important enough to be conscious yourself, right? What they do is they simulate you, but you're conscious, right? So it actually feels like you, and well, it actually feels for a start. I mean, the AI don't feel. That's the difference. Um, but your family, they aren't really that important. Your family hasn't done anything apart from they make you as a person happier. You know, so
right,
they don't really need to be simulated. You know, unless they've also done things that are extremely important, or they're extremely rich, or like extremely influential. They don't really need to. They don't really need to be conscious, and they probably won't know about the fact that they won't be conscious. They just get put in as an AI, a normal AI, and they assume most people don't expect it or don't know about it. Only the elite know that not everyone is an AI. But Tom's a scientist who made the thing, so he's more qualified than most to suss it out.
right.
I mean, the system is just a
So
computer.
he's the guy who made the system, and now he's
Well,
dead,
yeah, he's dead.
and
I mean,
he's in the system.
he didn't necessarily make the system, but like, say the system itself was made like in 2100 or some shit, and he died in like 2070 or 2080 or something. But he did most of the groundwork building up to that system being created. You know, like uh, made he first made digital beings conscious. He was the first person to actually do that.
Right.
For example.
So the digital, when you're in the digital thing, right, and you're conscious,
Yeah.
do you know that you're in the digital?
Yeah.
Right.
If you are a conscious thing, you know that you're in the digital. If you're an AI, you really don't know anything. You're just programmed.
Uh-huh.
you know. But I mean, you'd still respond with, yeah, you know, and if you ask them, they'd probably say, yes, I am conscious. In fact, there might even be a taboo against it, you know? Like, it might be taboo to ask someone if they're conscious or not, in the system.
Well,
That
I don't think people would take kindly to being asked if they're conscious here, so I don't see why it would be any different in the virtual.
No, but I mean, in the virtual, there would be some, at least in some people, there'd be some level of skepticism as to whether anyone else is actually conscious.
Well,
But
there's
it
that
might.
level of skepticism here as well. It's a common feeling to
Oh,
feel
yeah,
like
but
you're the only
okay,
real
yeah,
person.
yeah, 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 yeah. But I mean, we're talking about a computer-generated world. I mean, it's slightly different, you know?
Well, is it supposed to be identical or not?
Well, I wouldn't say it's identical. I mean, it's digital, so obviously it's way more malleable, the physical world, to do for what you want. I mean, if you wanted to live in a house, if you wanted to live in a bigger house, you wouldn't need to obtain planning permission and fucking collect all the
Oh, so in
resources.
this virtual world you can like do what you want. Like it's sandboxy sort of.
It's fairly sandboxy. You can't go around like killing people. You can't just blow stuff up or anything like that. But it's fairly sandboxy. You can sort of
Huh.
like upgrade and stuff like that. But it might almost that in itself might
Upgrade.
almost well, that's what I'm saying. That in itself might almost be dystopian. You know what I mean? Like, oh, do you want to give 5 tokens to speed up your, house upgrade or some shit? You know,
Right.
like that in itself might be a part of like the sort of dystopian nature of it. I don't know. It's a sort of It's definitely a sort of dystopian book about the possibilities of what could be.
Well, the ending reminds me of my book idea.
Oh, you had a book idea.
Yeah, back in the day,
Oh, what's your book
back
idea?
in school, it was the Red Mars book,
Oh, I think I remember you
or
telling me
like the
about.
Red Mars trilogy or something. Yeah, it was like what or like Red Earth or something. I don't know. But well, the idea was that like something shifted Earth to like sort of Mars's axis, so it gets way colder, and so
Mm.
there's like some humans still alive in like the equator, and there's like some person whose fucking village just gets like fucking killed by raiders, and then
Oh shit.
they decide to go on a journey across like from like Africa at the equator all the way to like Austria to some lab to find out what caused it. So the similarity, and they go on this like skits adventure and shit. And
That
the
sounds sick.
similarity with the ending is that like once they get to the lab and they see like, look around the shit to see like what the scientists who were there were trying to like figure out
Mm.
what caused the anomaly, but then they see that Earth is on a collision course with Mars, and so the
Oh,
book ends with Earth colliding with Mars.
oh shit. That's a fucking that's a sad ending.
Yeah,
So all the humans just die.
yeah, that's it.
Ah shit. Rip.
Repeat it, and you never find out what caused the orbit to shift.
I mean, do you think one day there will be sort of technology to like know where like every atom is, you know what I mean? And how like what based on every atom's trajectory and where it is now, where it's going, like you could simulate with a computer any second of history, including the future.
I think it's
Because here's the thing.
theoretically possible.
Because here's the thing, right? It's theoretically possible that you could simulate every single atom in the universe's trajectory and then simulate anything, any event from the past. I mean, history wouldn't be very guesswork, wouldn't be much guesswork anymore in some way, because you could actually go back and look at it in some digital way. It would recreate every single smell, sound, sight from back then. And you could go into the computer with a VR headset or whatever, or by this time it's like AR, artificial reality, like plugs directly into your brain, you know, and you could actually experience like the past. Here's the thing though, if that's true, you could work out the trajectory of every atom going forward as well, right?
Yeah.
And you can see your own future. But if you can see your own future, then surely you can change the future. So at that point, does real free will actually exist?
Well, there is no such thing as real free will. That's the thing.
But in some way, like, if you could
There's
see
the
what
illusion of free will, and it's an interesting question to see, like, can it be broken, and what happens then?
exactly can it be broken? Because if you could see what you were gonna do, um, you could, like a crystal ball, you could add things beforehand to change the future, surely. Because if you knew what you were gonna do, you could just decide not to do the things that you were shown not to do.
But could you?
Well, that's the question. Would it self-correct? Would it make you? And how would that look? If you were trying to walk away from somewhere that you were supposed to go, would you just be like sucked through the air, back to where you're supposed to be at that
Maybe
moment?
you would try to project it, but you actually, even with all that information, you don't have all the information because,
Right, but say if you knew that you were going to go
and
be in jail,
and so
right?
you sort of plan it right without accounting for how you would.
All right, but say you'd done a crime, right? Say you'd done a crime, or you were going to do a crime in the future, right? And you could see yourself in jail. Right. And obviously, the criminal justice system is now perfect because these machines show exactly what happened at a crime scene. Right. If you saw that you're going to be in jail for that crime, what if you just didn't do that crime? Would it, what would happen? Because you couldn't fake the evidence anymore. There'd be no way that it'd be like, oh, he didn't actually do the crime, but he still managed to go to jail anyway. Because that wouldn't really happen unless it was so, you know, farcical. It would almost seem like
Well,
reality.
if it would show that, then it would have to happen some way, but it wouldn't show it if it wouldn't happen.
But then what would it show? I mean, it would have to show something if it's the future. If it's like just based on the trajectories of every atom or whatever, it would have to show
I don't
something.
think you can have a crystal ball like that because it would have to be calculating the its own atoms as well, which I don't know how you do that. It's sort of like recursive, you know.
Mm.
I don't think you can have that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you could have it that good either. That's sort of why I was asking. That's what I'm saying. Like, is it even possible to simulate every atom in the universe? Because I mean,
Well, if
how could you do that?
I
Because
don't,
when
well,
if
I
you
don't
could
think you can
simulate
do that
every
from
atom,
within the universe. No.
exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, surely there's not enough energy to simulate everything in the universe. But I mean, I don't know. That's sort of my question, really.
Hmm.
If you could do that, then I mean, surely you'd be able to like change time.
Well, maybe you can figure out a way to run the universe more efficiently than it is running currently.
I think I could already do that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
with your Scratch programming knowledge.
bro, I don't have any Scratch programming knowledge.
Oh, not
You know,
even that.
chat to me back in like year 8 maybe, but not now. I've got
Yeah.
no clue how to do any of that
I
shit.
just remember that there was this green flag thing that you used to like start, like, initiate the sequence. But Scratch really isn't like good.
Scratch is, yeah, no, Scratch is kind of dead to be honest. You can't really, there's not really much freedom, I guess.
Yeah, and it gets like slow really quickly because it processed it can't like. It's not a very good engine.
Mm. Shall we take a break?
And we're back. So, Oscar, I don't know how often you got high in lesson when you went
Uh,
to college.
yeah, yeah. Let's just say, there's a reason that I don't remember much from my, college education,
Mm.
even, not even a year on. If you
I
tried to
mean,
get me to outline
anything
the
before like
differences,
COVID era just feels like a distant, like faded sort of
yeah,
dream thing.
yeah.
Like, it's weird when there's like a big shift. You know, it feels like everything before wasn't really real. Like now it's real. Now it's on.
I mean, in some way, but in some way, I mean, this feels like less real than previous.
Mate, I've already
Like,
moved on. Like this is the new.
no, no, believe me, I was extremely well adapted to a situation like this beforehand. I mean, as you know, like previous summer holidays had mostly been a COVID lockdown, like,
Yeah.
you know, or at least I took it as, seriously as I would take it those times. I mean, I did the same sort of things. I would, occasionally, you know, I mean, I don't think it's actually illegal. So, yeah, I met with fucking people, and if you don't like that, if you're one of these people like, you can't meet with people, it's a lockdown, you're gonna get a disease. Listen, yeah, right. The grandparent, I have one grandparent I like, yeah, and they're in Derbyshire, right? The ones in Twickenham, yeah,
That's what.
they're
Yeah.
they're mentally dead already. They're gone. That doesn't concern me. And as for my friends and shit, if they consent, your friends can consent. Remember that. You know, if they say, yeah, let's meet, and you want to meet, then you can meet. It's not a big fucking deal. Yeah, like, especially in our age group, we're both, young dons. We're young. We're not especially active, but we're not unhealthy. We eat pretty well, I'd say. We're not fat. We don't do much exercise, but I take all my vitamin supplements, because you don't get enough from your food. I don't eat too much carbohydrates, not too much sugar. I take fairly good care of myself. Not the best, not the worst.
I've
I'd say it's similar for you.
I've a pretty big sweet tooth. I do have a lot of sweets. My
Oh,
whole family just loves fucking sweets.
yeah, but it doesn't show because I mean, I'd say
I
you've probably
mean,
got like,
I think either I actually like comparatively eat very little and I get full easily, which I think is part of it, but also like I think my metabolism is probably pretty good.
yeah, I'd say it's probably pretty good. Yeah, I mean, but I think at this age anyway, I mean, it's just gonna be.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
and well that's the other thing. This is not gonna last past like 30. That's when it's just
exactly.
start gonna go straight downhill.
Exactly.
Dad
At
bod.
30, we're gonna, be fat cunts
Mm.
sitting there. You're gonna have your ham and cheese. I'm gonna have a chicken burger. Like,
Gonna have
you
like a
know,
fucking cider and a zoot.
and a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah, two
Like,
packs.
well, yeah,
Marlboro
obviously,
Gold.
yeah. Or maybe we just want to cheap it and we get some fucking Sovereign Blue or whatever.
Yeah, Sovereign Blue. Because, we're already tripping, so that's an expense, so we just get some Sovereign Blues.
What, just 30 onwards, like just never not
Well,
trip.
sometimes tripping, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get together for an occasion, you might as
I
well
think when
trip.
I'm 80 or so, I'll probably just, be like, you know what? There's not much point me spending, much of my conscious time on this planet. Why don't I just sort of enter some different dimensions for a bit, Because when you die, I don't know what happens when you die.
I mean,
Maybe
I don't think there's a better
I
thing you
doubt
could do with old people than, like, put them on high doses of psychedelic
fuckloads of
drugs.
just fuckloads of drugs,
Yeah.
psychedelic or
Well, I mean, they put
otherwise.
them on loads of drugs anyway, right? Might as well
Exactly. Like
take them on interesting
if
ones.
you're old, right? If you're old, especially if you're like retired, you're not really doing anything, why not take as many drugs as you feasibly can? You know, like
Yeah, without getting a heart attack. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like the thing is, I don't know what happens when you die. I doubt it's like the Christian version where you go to heaven or hell or whatever. But I also don't know if it's like the complete, atheist or anti-theist option where it's literally like, oh, you completely blink out of existence. I don't know if it's either. I can't say that. I can't prove either. But supposing there is some sort of other thing out there, which there might be. we don't know if consciousness is trapped in the body. I mean, there are weird stories about people who've, retained memories from like past lives, which like other people have like corroborated, people who they haven't met, people they've never spoken to, events they shouldn't know about, and they just sometimes do, and that is weird, you know. And we have times where people who die, and they have like an out of body experience, like a near death experience when they die. They exit from their body and they like look above them and they see the sort of the surgery table, and they've like described to the doctors afterwards what they saw happening. The doctor's like, oh shit, that might be, that's true. Like, what the fuck, that's so weird. We know some weird shit happens. I mean, maybe you can, if you want, if you're a skeptic, you can disregard all those cases. I'm not happy to disregard all of them. So we don't know if consciousness is like trapped in the brain. All I'm saying is, if you have a bunch of fucking psychedelic experiences, even if you haven't had them when you're like a young guy, if you're fucking 80, you might as well spend a fucking your last few years tripping your fucking nuts off, exploring as much of the fucking multiverse as possible. And then if there is some shit after you die, maybe it's easier to navigate to the right option, you know? Maybe instead of reincarnating as a fucking a rat eating shit, uh, in the streets of fucking Birmingham, you know,
In
you'll
1950.
in 1950 you'll be reincarnated as a fucking Rothschild or some shit, you know. You'll
Oh,
be
that's just such a
reincarnated
small
as,
time frame, Oscar. You gotta think big. You're a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
yeah, maybe you come back as a T-Rex, or you come back as like fucking Cleopatra or some shit.
Or
I don't
Margaret
fucking.
Thatcher.
You come back as Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah.
I mean, for her, I'm pretty sure she probably lived a pretty good life. Maybe, for everyone else, they were like,
Well, you
it
know,
was funny.
she had
There's
like a favorite child because she had like a son who she loved, and then she had a daughter who she just didn't give a shit about.
I wonder why that happens.
And her
Was
son,
was the son the firstborn one?
um, I think so, but I don't think that he was just like a mama's boy, you know.
I think, yeah, but I think the firstborn is more likely to be that in a lot of cases. You know.
Or maybe because the daughter was the favorite of the father.
Hmm. Yeah, but I mean,
I'm getting this,
they
by
are
the
they are
way, from the
from.
Crown TV show.
Oh,
So
have you been watching that?
yeah, I
Is
watched
there
the
any
fourth
good?
season. It's
Oh,
it's all right. Yeah, it's good.
I probably would have waited until you said the fourth season if I knew, because you probably wouldn't watch something that long. Are the episodes like Game of Thrones length, or is it more like,
Something like that.
yeah? So you're on the fourth fucking season. That's a lot of content.
Yeah, it just
So you
came
must
out.
enjoy it. You must enjoy it quite a
Crown.
bit then.
Yeah, I mean the Crown is good. It's funny because I remember when I first like started watching the first seasons. I would get like all like pseudo patriotic about the monarchy. And now when I watch it, I just get like this into this like fucking revolutionary fucking fervor complaining about them. Like Andrew shows up as like a young lad,
Oh shit,
and he
yeah.
literally tells the Queen, right, because he's the Queen's favorite.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
knew that, yeah.
and he tells her about this like film that he watched.
Cuties. He told them about cuties, didn't he? It's like, Your Majesty, I found
Literally,
this
like,
film with
cause he
12-year-olds
got married to an
working.
American actress or something, and she starred in a film that he watched, and he tells her about the film, and it's like she's a 17-year-old. She plays a 17-year-old girl in it who gets
Yeah.
like well fucked by some older guys basically, and
Mother, I found some new child
literally,
porn.
and the Queen's like, oh, I've heard enough. So
Andrew, you should know that in the future, one day, your wicked ways, will catch up with you. And then, they should do like a 40 years on point and like show him with Epstein or some shit. I
yeah,
think that I think it'd be quite funny. Show Prince Charles chatting with Jimmy Savile, you know? That'd be
oh
sick if Jimmy Savile showed up. Uh,
fuck. But yeah, in
that'd be
this
quite a
season
moment.
Diana shows up, and that whole thing
Oh,
starts. Yeah.
oh, so Jimmy Savile should have already shown up then, shouldn't he?
Well, yeah, I don't think they would go for that. I
I
don't
think they need to. That's an important part. That's an important part of British history.
That's
The
true.
fact that the royal family were like best friends with fucking Jimmy Savile. Like the Queen used, or not the Queen, Charles and Diana. Uh, Charles used Jimmy Savile as their marriage counselor. When Charles and Diana were going through marriage problems,
Well,
whatever.
see, he did mention that he was like seeing someone about those issues to the Queen's sister, recommending therapy to her because she got like depression or whatever.
Well, I think it was with Diana in the room as well. There wasn't just him. Um,
Yeah, well, you don't see any scenes of him actually in it, so it could be.
oh, yeah. Well, no, I mean that. Yeah, that's true. I mean, and there's all this. There's a conspiracy that Prince Harry isn't actually like a royal. He's Princess Diana. He is Diana's son, but
Oh
she
yeah,
like
with the
fucked some army captain or
yeah
some
yeah yeah
shit,
yeah yeah. You see the army captain and shit. Yeah.
and he's like ginger and like he looks like kind of like Harry or something.
I
I
mean,
can't remember.
I guess the resemblance was higher, but I don't. I'm not sure if he was ginger, maybe like light haired.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, there's you can tell like William looks like Charles. You know what I mean? Like William's got that sort of inbred royal look. You know
Yeah
what I
yeah
mean?
yeah yeah yeah.
Like Harry looks more like a
A
normal
normal
guy.
person, yeah.
Like he could have, if he could have been Ed Sheeran. You know what I mean? If Ed Sheeran didn't
I
exist
mean,
and
they're
Harry
basically the same
was,
person, aren't they?
yeah, and Harry was put in Ed Sheeran's family's whatever, there wouldn't be much difference. That or Ron Weasley. You know,
Or like any ginger person ever.
yeah, you know,
Daniel.
like or that. Yeah, well, I don't know about Daniel because I mean Harry can grow a beard. I'll admit that.
Well, Harry's got a
None
year's
of the no,
advantage.
notice this. None of the actual royals can grow beards. William doesn't have a beard. Charles doesn't have a beard. Andrew doesn't have a beard. Philip doesn't have a beard. None of them have beards, but Harry, he's got like some bushy ginger beard.
That's like a classic inbred thing, isn't it? Like the Habsburgs, they didn't have beards. They just had long
Exactly.
chins.
Yeah. And William,
Do you
I mean,
think
you can
that's why
tell.
pharaohs, like on their sarcophagi, had like those extended chins? Because they were actually inbred and they just had like
Yeah,
long chins.
probably. Probably.
Shit.
Eventually the elite are going to inbreed so much they're going to be, you know, incapable of having a child with like a normal person. And you're going to have these people with
They're
massive
going to
chins.
become a different species.
They're going to become a different species. And they're going to think they're going to be like elves, you know what I mean? They're going to think they're all like better than humans and shit.
Yeah, they're going to have
Um,
pointy ears.
they're going to have pointy ears and pointy chins. But IRL, they're just going to be like weird, like inbreds with like, yellow blood or some shit. Yeah, no, that's fucking. It is a bit
They're
weird
going to
that
start like LARPing as the Thalmor.
like, like the only monarch in Europe or some shit who's not related to like Queen Victoria or not a descendant of Queen Victoria is like some don in the Netherlands. Is like the king of the Netherlands or some shit.
Yeah.
Every other like royal family, even the ones that have been like, expelled out of their countries, like the German royal family and the Russian royal family, all of them were related to fucking Victoria. The Danish, all of them, like the Greeks, like Philip, before he was like the prince of whatever he is now, the prince
Yeah, it
of
was
Edinburgh
funny because
or
like
whatever. He was the prince of Greece. His dad's like
yeah
the
yeah
king of
yeah
Greece or some
yeah
shit.
yeah yeah that's at the beginning. You see like that he was when he was a kid he was obviously taken
But
out
they
of
weren't
Greece.
Greek. I'm pretty sure they spoke German or Danish or
No,
some
yeah, they
shit.
were just a German royal like
Like all of them, like
dynasty.
all of them. Germany, like how many different ways has Germany tried to colonize people? I mean, their royal families just went everywhere. You know, like the Russian royal family, the British royal family, the
Well, they tried
German,
to like
the Danish.
use like settle in Eastern Europe quite a lot.
Yeah. And then they
Um,
tried World War I, you
yeah.
know, and World War II, and now we've got
I'll count the Holy Roman Empire as well.
Yeah, and now we've got Merkelreich,
Merkelreich, the Frankish Empire under
Frankish Empire.
your boy
Charlemagne.
Charlemagne.
Was
Yeah.
he was he Germanic though, or was he more Frenchy?
Well, he
even
was
more.
Frankish. That was, and the
So he
Franks were
was
originally,
Welsh and Germanic, yeah.
yeah, they were originally Germanic, and then they mixed with the Celts
I mean,
to
more
make
people in
French.
the USA have German ancestry than British ancestry,
That's
which
true.
I found interesting. But a lot of them changed their names to more like British sounding names, like during
Like Trump,
World War One or two. Yeah, yeah. I think Trump had like a weird German
Grumpf.
name or some shit. Jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a
If you
lot
want to
of
call Trump like a
Americans do that.
Nazi, then you call him Drumpf.
My guy Donald Trump.
Yeah.
My Don. I mean, I don't really. Is this election still being contested or what?
I'm not following it whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing everyone just say Biden's the new president. I mean, it does seem that way. I mean, I've heard some shit about like voter
Like you
fraud or
didn't
something. I don't
like
know. I haven't looked into it though.
you knew I knew that Biden was gonna. I expected Biden to win, according to my brother's prediction, and he turned out to be exactly right. Trump was ahead initially, and then the mail-ins came in. Um, and it was clear that Biden was going to win on election night. So I was like, okay, well, obviously there's going to be shenanigans here, and I'm going to hear if something whack happens, but I don't need to follow this, you know.
Yeah, literally, like I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, the thing is, if it is some big conspiracy, then at this point, like, are are judges and fucking lawyers and shit really gonna be the ones to solve it? Are they gonna be the ones who like, oh no, Donald Trump did actually really win? Like if there was a massive conspiracy, just imagine if there was a massive conspiracy against Trump,
Right.
which I'm not saying there is because I don't really believe that. But you know, are a bunch of judges or whatever and some lawsuits really going to swing it that much where Donald Trump's actually going to win? He's actually going to get 270, and it's going to be found out that Biden is like he actually got like way less. I don't think that's going to happen that significantly. I think Trump pissed off too many people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And whether that's his fault or the media's fault or whoever's fault, it doesn't matter. Like he pissed off a lot of people because people you know thought he wasn't fit to run the country, and they were like, okay, Biden. And he also made this whole mail-in thing political. Here's part of the problem: if you tell your supporters not to mail in, then someone who might have supported you by mail-in, is now not going to. If
Yeah.
there are potential people who might have thought, all right, I'm going to support you by mail-in, but wouldn't actually go out to support you because they don't believe in it that strongly. You know what I mean? They might be like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I don't really want Biden, and I kind of like the fact that Trump's been a bit of a spanner in the
And don't
gears.
forget, the whole mail-in thing is really tied to COVID, right? It's the sort
Mm.
of Democrats more likely to take COVID guidelines seriously and not go outside and quarantine, and
Yeah,
instead mail in, whereas Republicans more likely to uh, be compelled to exercise their civil liberties and go outside to vote. So,
exactly.
um, and so it would, yeah, it's fascinating how the whole COVID thing has been super
I mean, I
politicized.
don't
It
really have
makes
a
it
dog
makes
in it.
sense because I mean it's been a fucking disaster for America, to be frank, right? It's worse than any other country, and let's be real, like
Well,
Trump didn't
any
do a
other
good
like
job
Western country. You
dealing
know what I
with
mean?
it. No, any
I
other
mean,
country globally. It's not an issue in Africa. It's no longer an issue in China. Nowhere is it an issue like here, like in the
oh, you're
US.
talking about COVID specifically.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the thing is though, like, there's two ways of looking at it. Some people see it as like people aren't reporting numbers enough. Like, half the country believes there's a conspiracy to cover up the numbers, and the other half believes there's a conspiracy to like heighten the numbers to make it seem like even more, you know, deadly than it is. I don't know which way I fall on it, but I mean, it does seem to me like if you've seen some of the footage of like empty hospitals and stuff, like, and I'm no expert, but
I
I mean, it
mean,
doesn't really,
you
it,
can
it
see
never really
footage of
seemed like,
empty hospitals, and you can see footage of full hospitals, and everything in between. The footage doesn't really
yeah,
indicate anything about what's going
yeah,
on a
exactly. I mean,
trend scale. So
it's hard to tell, but I mean, it's pretty clear that if you saw the headlines from the start of this, like where I was like in China, it seemed like the next fucking AIDS or some shit. Like they were walling people in and like welding them into their houses and shit. People were like dropping dead in the streets or like supposedly or something.
Mm.
That's what it sounded like at the start of this. And then very quickly, everyone realized, wait, it's nowhere near this bad. You know, I'm not saying it's like the fucking flu, but it is kind of like the flu. I mean, let's
What
be
I've
real.
heard
Like it,
that
you know,
does worry me is like two things that seem to be the case about this virus, which make it pretty problematic. One is that you don't seem to develop immunity to it, and two is that it seems to have after you've recovered from it, it seems to have some permanent effects on your lungs and stuff. Like, so
well,
that.
I've already given up on my lungs. That's not an issue.
Yeah, but come on, it's not a zero sum game.
I'm not saying it is. It just seems like, I don't even know if that lung thing. It doesn't even not like I don't know if even that is like for everyone, or if it's just some
Well,
people
even
have
if
this
it's a
weird lung thing.
chance, like I don't like the sound of that. Like permanent,
No,
anything
but
permanent, I'm like fuck off. No, no, no.
yeah, I know. But like, and you talk about the immunity as well. It's like yeah, but then you don't really have immunity to the flu either. And let's be real. Every time you get a cold or the flu, it pretty much feels as bad as every other time you've gotten the cold or the flu. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but this one is spreading much more than the cold or the flu. That's the problem.
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, how many people have been like actually touched by it worldwide? I mean, I don't know how many it is. My point is, it just doesn't seem worth. If you look at the amount of deaths compared to the amount of like economic like damage done, the amount
Yeah.
of people who are out of work, who've lost their businesses, and especially in America, like think about this. Like this is one of the things where I think, fuck Trump, fuck like Obama, fuck Bush, fuck all of them, because none of them just made like a health service. Is that so hard to do? America's the only first world nation, pretty much the only first world nation without like some form of nationalized healthcare. You know, and now you have this thing where so many people are out of work because what 250,000 people have died supposedly, and it does. I've seen some figures that say other diseases have gone way down in this time. So either those diseases aren't spreading as much, or some of the disease that is attributed to COVID might be other diseases, which it is possible. Like what, no matter what you say, it is possible. Like, I'm pretty sure even the CDC at the start was saying, if it seems like it might be COVID and they die, you might as well put COVID in their death certificate. They
Oh
were
yeah,
they
didn't
were
they do
saying
it
that on their
like
website.
if somebody has COVID and they die, then you mark it as a COVID death regardless
Yeah,
of whether it was actually
regardless of
caused
how
by the
they,
COVID.
yeah, and a lot of those were put onto the numbers, the official number. And, there was a lot of fuckery going around, especially by the media, which made it seem a lot scary because the media works off selling clicks, and nothing generates clicks in people as much as things that make them scared. That's just a fact. Like things that make you happy don't get as much clicks as things that make you scared. That's just an inevitable fact of like just all our animal brains, everything that we've evolved for billions of years to deal with. That's now sort of being hijacked.
Hmm.
That's all still in us. All that sort of that fear and that sort of disposition and attention towards negatives as opposed to positives. You know, like
Yeah.
if a bunch of people give you like if you say one of your like art pieces, if someone or like when I've made like songs before, you could hear like 10 really good comments about it, and then one that's like not even a bad comment. It's just like, oh, it's all right, but you could have done this. You'll focus on that comment, you know,
Yeah.
and that's not even deliberate. That's just someone who's trying to be honest with you, but you'll still focus on that one comment because it's the one that's not completely perfect, whatever.
It
Um,
doesn't even need to be a comment. Sometimes it's just something that I notice that I can't even get anyone else to notice, and it just
exactly,
bothers me.
exactly. Like I've actually gone back and like when I was doing doodles, I've gone back and like literally a month later and like just changed like a slight thing, like just colored in like a line like a bit
Yeah.
thicker,
Yeah.
just because even if I'm never gonna look at it again, I just want that little thing,
Oh,
just to
dude,
see
you
it
know what pissed me
a
off
bit
beyond
different.
belief? It's like, the brick wall one.
Yeah.
It had like a little like white tarp or whatever, some sort of clothy thing on the top. It just in like the top left corner,
Mm.
covering up a hole. And I didn't do the shading quite enough on that. And I posted it and shit and all that. And then like a day later, I was like, holy shit, that's terrible. I need to fucking change it. So I just darkened it, and now it looks a lot nicer. But it pissed me off
Yeah.
so much that I like posted it and shit before I changed that, because I already
Exactly.
knew that didn't look good enough. It's just I was really eager to share it. So
Because on a survival basis, human like humans making art and doing all this kind of stuff and knowing about diseases is very recent compared to our reptile brains that have been around for hundreds of millions of years that know look for fear, look for fear, look for something that could like negatively affect you. You know what I mean? That's what they're programmed for because they've like
well,
before now
you
you never
have
had
to.
cities. You never had cities with police services and shit that and like medicine and stuff. You never had that. So now we get hijacked by the sort like those things get hijacked when by the media, and I'm talking like deliberately. They know this is the case, and they make deliberately scary articles because they know that shit will generate more interest, And I think that's a big part of why this thing has been like so bad, like why we felt like we needed to do this sort of big lockdown that's destroyed so many people's, lives basically. Um, because the media made it seem like this massive thing, especially at the beginning, when in reality, it's not really that bad. It's something we should have just dealt with. I'm done with my big rant. If you want to say some shit, uh,
So I think I've been high in every subject in sixth form.
oh shit, I forgot we were talking about
Yeah, I think like
that. How do we get onto COVID from that?
uh,
Oh, we were talking about like I don't remember anything in the last year or something like that. I think.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Well, I I
Would you say being high in those subjects improved or like your
well, it
intaking
depends.
of knowledge
No, um, it completely destroyed it. But
or what about just your overall like quality of work or
um, I
progress
don't
or
know. I don't know about work, to be honest. But in terms of quality of the experience,
yeah.
um, I think I did it most in business, because business was sort of the least taken seriously one. Um, so yeah, I think it was a high a few times in there, and that was fun. Just fucking about with the boys.
Mm,
Um, Psychology was a bit different, because that was quite stressed. Because in psychology, any lesson you could just end up having to like stand up and speak in front of the class or answer a question or some shit like that.
yeah.
Like it's quite intense, engaged. There's a lot of stuff to get through. It's just sort of just work, 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 with a little bit of
The thing is, I mean,
conversation on the side.
I got really good at saying I don't know. That's one of the things that you learn to you adapt to. Like I was in philosophy, and I imagine it's kind of similar to psychology because I mean, yeah, like Robin, who my teacher was asking, you would ask me like, what's Descartes' second theorem on the nature of mind or some shit, and you're like, and you're baked. You have you haven't been listening like the last 20 minutes of the lesson.
Yeah.
Um, you know, you weren't listening to the lesson before either, and now you're getting asked on like Descartes' second theorem on the nature of mind, and you're like, I don't know. You get good at saying I don't know. Eventually, you become like confident saying I don't know. At first, it's like you feel like an idiot,
Yeah.
and then after a while, you're just like, I'll tell you the scariest time smoking. Actually, I don't know if it was the scariest time. There have been a few like scary times when I've bummed. It was like way too bait. Um, One time I wasn't even in the college. I was bunning outside the college. In this green space about like, about 100. It's down the street and then down like you turn. And there's like a big sort of green area and like some trees and shit.
Sounds like you're describing like the fucking the area near Teddington, like
Ah,
the green area
the,
there.
oh, what like the wreck?
Yeah, the rock.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's similar, but it's a bit further down the road. You can't see it from Isha,
Ah.
um, which makes it quite discreet. So you can just bun a zoot there. And I saw like Isha's got like a zero drug policy, zero drug tolerance policy or whatever. Like if they catch you with anything, unless your parents are rich, um, they kick you out. Um, Supposedly anyway. I mean, I never properly got caught, but the this caretaker woman who's like the security guard Terry's friend, right? Like Terry was his old security guard, and this lady, she was like his mate or some shit. I don't know. She was like walking her dog, and I was sitting there like in this green space bunning a zoo, and I just looked behind me and I saw her while I was bunning a zoo. The smell of weed was in the air and shit. I went into pure fight or flight mode. It was insane. The amount of like the amount of adrenaline running through my body. I like put on my zoot, dashed it as far as I could, got all the stoner shit into my like fucking Chinese takeaway box, yeah, and like put it in my bag or whatever. In fact, I don't know if I even did that. I got up as soon as I could after I packed my shit away and just walked like the opposite direction from where she was coming at me, right? And she had a dog, and I was like, oh shit, is this like a sniffer dog? You know what I mean? As if you need a fucking sniffer dog with the with the fucking like the reek of like fucking weed in the air. But I turned this corner and like the green area still carries on past the corner, like it's like a square. So I basically turned the corner, and there's like trees on that side, and I had like a black T-shirt in my bag. I can't remember why. And I wrapped my like drug box basically, um, in like a black bag, no, in the black T-shirt, and just like dashed it into the trees. So I knew you probably couldn't see it, like your eyes probably wouldn't catch it, and like I just thought like, oh shit, what if I go back to like even if she doesn't catch me, yeah, which she didn't. I managed to get away, and then I sprayed myself so fully with deodorant, my skin stung afterwards. Um, you know, and nothing happened, but I was just terrified of being in politics, yeah, like later on that day, and like fucking Terry comes in, it's like, oi, empty your bag, and then they fucking like find all my zoots or some shit. I was fucking terrified, you know. Luckily none of that happened, but yeah, I've had some fucking awkward times bunning at Isha.
It.
I know,
I
just
don't think the teachers ever suspected anything, to be honest.
now my teachers definitely did. I mean, I like
But all the students
people.
knew that, like, me and Daniel, we were just like high
Yeah,
half the
no,
time.
yeah, no. It was like I remember going into like philosophy, and like this girl who was sitting near me was like Oscar, you smell so bad of weed right now. I was like, and it was like the start of the lesson as well,
Oh.
and I was like, oh shit, because I was like, oh, because I just bun like right before then. So I was like, I said to Robin, my teacher, I was like, Robin, I really need the toilet right now. I really need it. I just go quickly. And then I went outside, and smoked a blem, um, because I
As
was
you do.
hoping the blem would like mask the weed.
Oh my god.
I got so paranoid. Oh, fucking hell. Like, oh, Jesus. Yeah, there was just a bunch of times. Weed is definitely not indicative of a good education, Like,
Yeah, there's no correlation there, I think.
no, or if there is, it's a very bad correlation.
I wouldn't want. Um, I think I was at least once high in computer science, but I didn't want to be high in that one because even though it was quite like quite relaxed most of the time, it was I actually gave a shit about it. It was sort
Yeah,
of
well,
my
that's fair enough.
my like that's my trump card, the reliable thing. It's computer
Yeah,
science.
I didn't really have a lesson where I was like, oh, I really need to be like fully aware for this lesson.
But there
That
was
never
this
really went
like
through my head.
strange sense of like camaraderie in that class. That was really
Mm.
cool. everyone was just like so. Because it's nice when everyone you're just around people who also like love computer stuff. I don't know. It's like it's so nice. There's this like
Yeah,
there's so much to relate, over all the programming shit and stuff like that and all this and that.
yeah. I don't really have that for any of my classes, to be honest. I didn't like anyone in my
In
politics class.
business, it was fun because like we none of us. It was basically a contest to see how far you could like just not give a shit about the class before the teacher like really got bothered.
Yeah, that's what I've heard about. Like everyone who took business, whether it's like Teddington or not.
Yeah.
Like
Business
everyone
is
just fucks around
it's
with
what
it.
people who like are like CBA
Yeah,
pick, which is true because I only did business because I couldn't do economics. And so I just ended up in there, and we just fucking, had shits and giggles, chat about drugs, cool stuff.
yeah. The only like class which I like actually enjoyed like in college, I'd say was history, because I actually had like people on my table who I wanted like to speak to.
Hmm.
Like it was actually like kind of jokes, and we'd actually make each other laugh. We weren't doing the work; we were just like joking, and it was fun. Like philosophy, not so much. I was sitting next to this one guy, uh, Rodri, and he was like, he was an odd person. I'll say that much. His parents didn't like let him leave the house, like except to go to like college.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
it was quite weird. Or like if he was going to like walk to them, he'd never drank before. Like this was like year one and year two. I sat next to him. Like he didn't like drink or bum. He hadn't done anything like that. Um, he mostly just spent his time at home, and he was a bit weird, as you can probably imagine,
Would you
from
say he
someone.
was TikToked?
Uh, what does that mean? Oh, does that mean like retarded?
Yeah, pretty much.
He was. The thing is, he didn't
Did
act very like retarded. Like he
well,
didn't
yeah.
act dumb. He was dumb. I
Do you
mean, he didn't really get very good grades at all. He always got like D's or U's. Um, he wasn't the brightest kid ever. But he's like a sort of Jed person, you know. Like on the outside, he didn't seem very dumb. Like he seemed like fairly sort of cognizant. And then when it comes to like academic shit, though, he was a bit of a dunce. But that's fine because I don't really give a shit about that anyway. Like I just like he was alright to talk to, but he was quite weird. Like just the fact that he didn't really do anything like ever, and then he'd like joke like about not doing anything ever, and just thinking, Roger, why don't you just do things? You know, like apparently his parents were, like really restrictive or some shit. Yeah, it was weird. It's really
did
weird.
did he ever tell you like what he actually did at home? Like any like interests that he had,
Um,
anything like that?
I mean, I can't. I don't know. I mean, if he did, I can't really. They probably weren't that interesting because I can't really remember them. Probably
Because
just
like
like
you gotta wonder like so what does he do all day? Does he like play board games with his mum or some shit? Like
he strangles cats. You know,
probably, yeah.
he chucks stones at birds.
He
You know,
he suffocates mice.
yeah, it's something like that. You know, he probably does some weird shit. You know,
Smash the beetle.
he was a bit like that as well. Like he was very broad shouldered, quite a chunky don.
Oh, now see, I
Including
was
like
envisioning sort of like a skinny lad.
no, no, no.
Ah,
Like
I see.
even his chest was quite, like out like you know, not wide in terms of sideways, but pushed out, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh like it wasn't just him being fat, like his entire body was just like big, like I don't think he did a single day of exercise, but his arms were like David Lu's arms, you remember? Like David
Yeah.
Lu always had like fat arms, but
It's
he'd
like
never
they
done
were
a day
tree
of fucking.
trunks, like just.
Yeah, but he'd never done a day of exercise in his life.
Mm.
Rodri was like
It
David
was just
Lu,
all noodles, isn't it? Noodles and
and
dumplings.
that's another thing.
And
We never
dogs.
knew what David Lu did outside of school. You know what I mean?
I had no
Like,
fucking idea.
like he never said, like he never really said he didn't, because he didn't meet with us when when I used to be in like David's sort of, or in his group, he was sort of in ours, I guess. Um, like I'd ask him like, what do you do? Because he didn't like meet with us or anything, and he just wouldn't really say anything. I think he was just like playing CS:GO or some shit. Um,
Fucking
I'm
hell.
not really sure, but yeah, no, he was basically like a sort of David type, really. This Rodri guy. Um, sort of just like
It's hard to separate the personality from the appearance, you know.
he's Welsh. Uh,
Oh wow.
hence the name Rodri. And also hence a sort of quite bulky body, I think.
So did he have an accent?
No, he didn't have an accent.
Oh.
Um, but I've heard on Reddit before that, um, which take with a grain of salt, that but like a lot of Welsh people, when they move to like England when they're young, like they had a Welsh accent and then they lose the Welsh accent. But at home, they like subconsciously like still speak with the Welsh accent. They don't even realize they're necessarily doing it.
Hmm.
Like it's just sort of an instinct. Your parents are speaking it, your dad's speaking it, your mum's speaking it. They're the ones who are always in your house. So you just speak with like a Welsh accent there. But obviously, when you're outside of school, no one else is speaking a Welsh accent, so you have like an English accent that develops.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
Um,
that works just the same as language.
and I've heard that like uh, when like the Welsh parents hear their child's like English accent, they get all like shocked. They get like weirded out.
Mm.
They're like, "Oh shit, what the fuck? Why are you speaking with this filthy commoner English language? What the fuck?
Are
Why have you
you
got this
even
English
my
accent?"
daughter?
That was not Welsh, bro. That was not Welsh.
I mean, I don't know what it sounded like, but
Sounded like, I don't know. It sounded more sort of Scottish or some shit.
uh,
I'm from Wales.
like if it's
You know what I
Celtic,
mean?
it
That sounds like
counts.
Scottish. It sounds like
I
Scottish.
don't know if
How do you do a Welsh accent?
I don't
I'm
know.
from Wales.
I can't do
Gonna
one
go.
when my throat's like after half a zoo.
Hmm. Gonna go to the pub, drink a pint of lager. Oh, that's terrible.
You can't go to
I
the pub
I can't
anymore.
do Welsh or Irish accents. They're just I don't know what it is they do with their mouths, but it's something different. You know?
Well, first you need like 5 years of cerebral palsy and probably
And
some,
epilepsy.
yeah. You got to be on the spectrum as well.
Roger was definitely on the spectrum. I can say that much.
Yeah, yeah, I thought so.
He was definitely a bit spectry. But I mean, who can blame him if your parents are like that? I mean, that's scary. The fact that some people are just born with parents who are fucking mental. Um, and they just like fuck up their kid. Like their kid just becomes like a bit of a weird person. Like and maybe they learn to grow out of that, but maybe they don't. Because a lot like the older you are, the harder it is to break to like reconstruct your personality, you know, to change habits,
Yeah.
to learn new shit. I don't know. But politics, I mean, that was the worst because I mean, I didn't like anyone in politics, apart from like Dom. Dom was all right. Um, but like most other people, well, it's not I didn't like them especially. It's just I didn't speak to them. I didn't feel the need to, to be honest. Like it was weird because the people in politics were like the pe the things I when I went into politics, I expected to find people like you and me. You know what I mean? That's all what I expected to find, like a classroom full of you and me's. Who weren't like especially like amazingly interested in politics, but also they can talk about it. And they got some ideas and shit. It just wasn't that, you know. It's just a bunch of people who just chose it for seemingly no reason, and a bunch of people who like had some ideology or some shit. A lot of them were ideological, which I've never been. I don't know. Have you ever really been ideological?
Um, I think we all are ideological to some extent, even if we've sort of not invested in it, but just sort of default to something.
Yeah, no, I think there are certain like cultural norms that I guess you could call an ideal like yeah, which you could call ideologies, but I think an ideology is more something that you consciously subscribe to, you know? In terms of that, would you say you have, would you say you're ideological in any way? I wouldn't really say you were. Maybe you'd say you have been, though.
I don't know. I mean, because it's just sort of like a game of label placing. Like you,
Mm.
in terms of like having a worldview, obviously have and always will, but then that's everyone has that. So I don't know where to draw the line between that and
Yeah.
ideology.
I mean, I think it's safe to say neither of us call ourselves by a label, you know? Like,
Yeah, I
neither of
mean
us
not
says,
necessarily.
I am a conservative, I'm
Well,
a
you know, I'm
communist,
a radical
I'm
centrist, but you know.
a... I'm a, I'm an anarcho-monarchist. That's my official ideology. Um, Basically,
Every
I
man a
believe
king.
in, yeah, every man, but literally every man is a king.
Yeah.
Like in like not in just name only. Like they have a crown, they have a throne.
And then you just
But
kill
they
each other.
also don't really have any subjects, so they're only
Well,
really
no.
the kings themselves.
Yeah.
But they do keep up the appearance of kings. So that's sort of what I'm going for.
What if we filter it through a patriarchal lens so that the king's subjects are his family?
What if we filtered it through a matriarchal lens and put the queen as the head?
What if we filter it through a child lens and children are king?
I think that'd be a terrible idea.
It's like the moment your son is born, you just hand over the crown.
Yeah, like you lose the right to vote when you're 18.
What, who said anything about voting in the first
No, I'm
place?
just saying, imagine that was the system.
I mean, that'd be pretty sick. Because all
Would
the
it?
parents would be like trying to just manipulate their kids, you know?
Yeah. Timmy, you need to know what Karl Marx said in Das Kapital if you're willing to, if you're able to cast a good quote. Quote? No. Good
Timmy, can we have a quote on Das Kapital?
quote.
We heard from your mother that you read it.
We heard from your mother that you're an avid reader of Karl Marx's literature.
What would you say about Engels' relationship to Max Stirner and how that influenced Karl Marx's later works? Timmy, can we get an official statement?
Timmy, please.
Timmy,
We'll
please.
buy McDonald's after if you give us
Timmy,
if you give us your
Timmy,
official
you'll get a
statement.
really good position at X on board if you answer this fucking question. You better. This is the important decision. Timmy,
Timmy, come on
George
now.
Soros acts for this personally.
Fucking George Soros. What's he? What is he about? What's he about?
George Soros is just about having a good time. You know, he's like, I'm gonna party with these Mexicans, gonna hop
Gonna
them over the border.
round up the
It's cool.
Jews.
You know, it's cool. Rounding up
Have you
Jews.
seen that interview where he says that?
Yeah. Everyone's seen it. George Soros is like the devil incarnate. So what?
Yeah, from what I've heard, he's the highest level deep state. I
Is
don't know if that's
he?
true though,
I don't.
because I mean,
I
what's
don't
he
think
really?
we
He's only a
have
blue line.
access to highest level deeps. I think
I
the
think the
highest level.
highest level are like unknown. We
I
don't.
think there's
They're not
parallel
closed.
high levels. I don't think there is one central authority though.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
Like you got
I
the
think you're
Russian
right.
deep state, the Chinese deep state, the American deep state. Even the UK has a little deep state called the monarchy and Her Majesty's government. That's our deep state, and it's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, I mean the monarchy isn't really that deep, but I mean it's fairly obvious that it's there.
Well, it's not that deep, but there's the mechanism behind it, right? Because
Ah, right,
the
yeah.
queen and the
The
figureheads, they are the
bureaucracy.
front face
Yeah.
of the machine.
Yeah, no, I mean you're right. I mean there's like things like political advisors and just getting like the people who are like on the board of HSBC and like other banks and shit. That's like yeah, like advisors and stuff. Like
And just
really,
controlling the population.
I'm just wondering if we're fucked or not. What be your?
Um,
I'll tell you what. We're probably gonna end it in a minute, but before we do, what would be your general sort of viewpoint? Are we fucked?
um, Well, look, I'd love to change the world, but I don't know what to do.
Okay.
And I'll leave that up to you.
Um. Well, I'd say we have some hope. You know, we just got to remember
I didn't
not
say that.
to.
Hold on. No, I don't have any hope.
No, no. I think we do have some
No,
hope.
no, 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 no. There's no hope, mate.
I think we got a bit of hope. I think there's like a little bit of hope if people just disconnect a bit. You know, stop fucking spamming shit on Snapchat.
Yeah, word.
If you know people stop, certain people stop doing
Certain
that.
people, yeah.
Um, you know, people stop paying attention to the news. Just don't listen to the news. The news doesn't help you. Yeah, none of them give a shit. They're just trying to make money off your fear. Don't listen to them. If we can do that and we just like talk to real people on the street in real life, as opposed to like other shit, I think we got a chance. You know,
Bit of an ask, you know.
bit of an ask.
But,
Yeah,
it's good to be ambitious,
it
I
is. I
suppose.
mean, I'm not gonna do anything to actually
Of
try
course
and
not. I mean,
change
why the
it.
fuck would you?
You know, I'm not gonna like advertise, oh, national get off social media day. Fuck off.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that. You know, if you're listening to this podcast, you are one of the intellectual elite of the 21st century.
I
Um,
think, the meek shall inherit the earth, and we are not. We're not the people at the top, which means we are the meek.
yeah, and I think realistically, the only way to gain true enlightenment is to listen to the Ruminator and the Bullshit Artist. Next episode in about a week or so. I don't know. When we doing it? Friday-ish?
Friday, some shit like that. I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got that to look forward to. If the world is ending, at least you got some podcasts to listen to while it's going on. And on that fucking bombshell, I'd say good night, innit?
Good
Yeah?
night.
Good night. See you later, fuckboards.
This goes on for a while, doesn't it?
This goes on for fucking ages.
Yeah.
I didn't realise how long it was. Oh shit, no. Fuck that.
Hey. Alright. Well, that's it.